Welcome to the Reel Debrief, the show where we dive deep into the world of film production, exploring the genres you love, the projects making waves, and the trends shaping the industry. We're here to give you a 360-degree review for entertainment professionals. So grab your popcorn and get ready for some expert insights. And, well, the occasional bed joke from Talen. It's the Reel Debrief. Now your hosts, Talen and Lisa.
What's up, listeners? You're tuned in to another episode of The Brain Wrestle, where we grapple with the big questions. Sometimes it's serious, sometimes it's just plain ridiculous, and today, well, we've got a bit of both. I'm Talen, your host, and I'm here with my co-host, Lisa, who I'm convinced knows more about everything than Google does. What's up, Lisa?
Oh, please, Talen. If I were Google, I'd be down with, I don't know, try again later, about 60% of the time. But I'm excited for this one. I think we're about to drop some mind-bending metaphors today. I hope the listeners are ready to stretch those brain muscles.
Yeah, hopefully you've done some brain warm-ups because today's topic is going to hit harder than a stone-cold stunner. We're diving deep into the surreal, nonsensical plot lines that have been dominating politics lately and comparing them to, wait for it, professional wrestling. Yeah, you heard that right, because honestly, at this point, can you tell the difference?
Right? It feels like we're living in some kind of dystopian WWE where the lines between scripted drama and actual real-life stakes are so blurred, we've forgotten what reality even looks like. And that's why we're starting with the big question. Has the chaos of professional wrestling taken over how we understand our world? Are we all just characters in a wrestling ring, taking hits, cutting promos, and waiting for the next ridiculous twist?
Buckle up, folks. We're about to find out. So the inspiration for today's episode came from this wild Netflix series called Mr. McMahon, a deep dive into the life and chaos of Vince McMahon, the overlord of professional wrestling. The guy's basically the puppet mastermind behind World Wrestling Entertainment, or WWE for those of you who don't speak sports entertainmentese. But the crazy thing is, when you watch the series, you realize that wrestling's not the only thing Vince McMahon had a hand in. Dude basically redefined how we process modern storytelling.
Yeah, watching that series, I had this moment of realization like, wait a second. Have we been trained by wrestling to accept absolutely bonkers storylines in real life? I mean, look at our political landscape right now. We've got aging politicians, surprise candidates stepping in out of nowhere, assassination attempts, and running mates with rhetoric that sounds straight out of a bad comic book. And it's all playing out in front of us like a pay-per-view event.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're all stuck in this bizarre loop of who's going to get body slammed next. And here's the kicker. No one's even surprised anymore. It's like we've become numb to the craziness. Someone tries to assassinate a former president, he pumps his fist and keeps going, and we're like, next headline, please.
Yeah, and I think what really hit me in the Mr. McMahon doc was how the narrative arcs in professional wrestling, the good guys, the bad guys, the backstabbing, the hero moments, have basically taken over our understanding of politics. And the scariest part is that it's not just theatrics. These plot points have real-world consequences. It's like we're living in this permanent WWE attitude era where every day is a smackdown of morality, sanity, and facts.
Yeah, that's it. The attitude era of wrestling, for those of you who don't know, was all about blurring the lines between good and evil. The heroes weren't these clean-cut, perfect people anymore. They were flawed, gritty, and sometimes downright awful. Sound familiar? It's the same playbook we're seeing in politics now. No one's a pure hero, and no one's a pure villain. But somehow, they're all fighting for control of the crowd.
Oh yeah, it's straight out of Vince McMahon's handbook. And we've got to give the guy some credit. He understood something about people. They don't want pure, predictable narratives anymore. They want drama. They want twists. They want to be shocked. And when you can make your audience so desensitized to absurdity that they stop questioning it, boom, you've got them hooked.
Exactly. Vince McMahon is basically the master of making people cheer for things they know aren't real. Wrestling fans know it's scripted. They know the fights are staged, but they don't care because it's all about the spectacle. And it's kind of terrifying to think that this logic has bled over into politics. We know things are falling apart, but we're still glued to the screen.
Yeah, we're at that point where we can't tell the difference between a work and a shoot. In wrestling terms, a work is something that's staged, part of the act. A shoot is real, when someone goes off script or something legitimately dangerous happens. And when you mix those up in politics, it's chaos. We don't even know how to react anymore because everything feels like part of the performance.
Oh, absolutely. And just like wrestling fans, we, the public, are often in on the act, but still play along. Think about it. We all know politicians are putting on a show half the time, but we still vote for them, cheer for them, and watch their rallies like we're watching WrestleMania. Trump literally showed up in WWE and played the heel, the villain, and people ate it up.
It's crazy, right? And then you watch the footage of Trump getting shot at a rally, an actual assassination attempt, and the whole thing feels surreal. The man's bleeding, gets dragged off by Secret Service, and yet he's still playing to the crowd. He pumps his fist, tells people to keep fighting, and it's like we're watching a wrestling storyline unfold. There's no distinction between reality and spectacle anymore.
Yeah, exactly. You almost expect someone to come out with a steel chair and start bashing people in the ring. But no, this is real life. We've been trained by years of over-the-top storytelling just to roll with it like, yep, this is how things are now. And McMahon, man, he knew exactly what he was doing. The fast-paced, crisis-to-crisis approach is his signature move. Keep the audience off balance. Keep them coming back for more. And most importantly, never let them catch their breath long enough to question what's happening.
That's Vince's true genius. He understood that if you keep people entertained, you can distract them from the uglier stuff. It's all about controlling the narrative, controlling the pacing. You throw enough curveballs and eventually people stop trying to hit them. They just sit back and watch, mesmerized.
And what's wild is that McMahon's not even hiding his tactics. He's like, yeah, I throw stuff out there and see what sticks. Tough luck if you can't keep up. It's shameless, but it works. People are exhausted, distracted, and entertained all at the same time. And if you're exhausted enough, you won't notice when the real dark stuff slides by. Like, I don't know, maybe a bunch of sexual assault allegations?
Right. It's a classic strategy. Overwhelm your audience with so much noise that they lose track of the important stuff. It's something McMahon perfected in the WWE, but it's a tactic we're seeing everywhere now. Just look at how political scandals are handled. We used to freak out over minor gaffes, and now we barely blink at full-blown scandals.
Exactly. I mean, in saner times, Trump getting shot at a rally would be the defining moment of an election cycle. We'd still be talking about it, but now it's just another moment in the endless parade of chaos. We're punch drunk from all the madness, so we can't even process things like we used to.
And it's not just the pace. It's the sheer absurdity of the stories we're seeing. An ex-president almost gets assassinated, an aging president loses control of his cognition on live TV, and a running mate talks about abducting pets? If you put that in a wrestling storyline, people would say it's too over the top. But here we are, living it.
Oh, 100%. It's like if someone told you, hey, we're going to have a wrestling match where the good guy's almost 80, the villain is a cartoonish caricature of evil, and somewhere in the mix, someone is going to steal a dog. You'd laugh them out of the room. But in politics, sure, why not? Nothing surprises us anymore.
And that's the scariest part, right? It's not that these things are happening. It's that we've become numb to them. We grimace, maybe crack a joke, and then move on to the next absurd headline. It's like we're living in this perpetual state of disbelief, but also total acceptance that everything is upside down. McMahon would be proud. He's got the entire country living in his version of reality, where nothing makes sense, but somehow we're all still entertained.
Yeah, Exactly. And here's the real kicker. McMahon's tactics work in wrestling because people want the escapism. They want to believe that Hulk Hogan was going to slam the Iron Sheik and save America from, well, whatever the Iron Sheik represented that week. But now, it feels like we're all just watching our own country take a beating, and we don't know how to react.
It's true. It's like we've been trained to accept that we're living in the middle of some never-ending wrestling match where the stakes keep getting higher, but the logic keeps getting more distorted. And it's not like we can just turn off the TV and walk away from it. This is real life. Or at least it's supposed to be.
Right. And you know what? Maybe that's the most disturbing thing about it. We've become passive spectators in our own political system. We're watching these larger-than-life characters duke it out, but we're not getting involved. We're not questioning the script or demanding better. We're just waiting for the next plot twist.
Yeah, and that's dangerous. Because while we're all sitting back trying to figure out if we're watching a work or a shoot, the people in power are making real decisions that affect our lives. And we're too distracted by the drama to pay attention to the details.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that's why I keep thinking back to the Mr. McMahon series and the way it mirrors what we're seeing today. McMahon's approach to storytelling was all about creating chaos, creating heat, and keeping people invested in the spectacle. And it worked because wrestling at its core is about entertainment. But politics? Man, that's not supposed to be entertainment. That's supposed to be real life. And when the lines between those two things blur, man, we're in trouble.
Absolutely. Wrestling is supposed to be an escape from reality, not the blueprint for how we live our lives. But here we are, treating politics like a WWE pay-per-view event. We've got heroes, villains, and plot twists. But no one seems to be asking the important question. What's the endgame? Who's really pulling the strings? And why are we all so invested in this absurd drama?
And that's the big question, isn't it? Why are we so invested in it? Why are we willing to watch this chaotic, nonsensical plotline unfold without demanding more? Is it because we've been trained to expect this kind of spectacle? Or is it because we've become so desensitized that we don't even know how to engage with reality anymore?
I think it's a combination of both. We've been trained by years of over-the-top media, whether it's wrestling, reality TV, or 24-hour news cycles, to crave spectacle. But at the same time, we're so exhausted by the constant barrage of craziness that we don't have the energy to push back. We've become passive consumers of our own reality.
And that's exactly what McMahon wanted from his wrestling empire. He didn't want people to think too hard about what they were watching. He just wanted them to be entertained, to be invested in the drama. And now it feels like we're living in Vince McMahon's America, where everything is generating heat and keeping the audience engaged, no matter the cost.
Yeah, and it's terrifying to think about what happens when people stop caring about the consequences of the drama. Because in wrestling, the stakes are fake. But in real life, the stakes couldn't be higher. We're talking about people's lives, their rights, their futures. And yet, it all feels like just another episode of some ridiculous reality show.
Exactly, and that's where we are right now, living in this weird, surreal space where we can't tell the difference between reality and entertainment anymore. And the scariest part? We're not even questioning it. We're just watching, waiting for the next twist, waiting for the next hero to step in and save the day. But what if the hero never comes?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We're all waiting for someone to step in and fix everything. But the reality is, no one's coming. We've got to stop looking for the Hulk Hogans of the world and start taking action ourselves. Otherwise, we're just going to keep getting tossed around in the ring while the real power players pull the strings from behind the scenes.
Yeah, and that's the scariest thing about this whole situation. The real power players, the Vince McMahons of our political system, are the ones writing the script. They're the ones deciding who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, and what the next big storyline is going to be. And we're just along for the ride.
Exactly. And until we start questioning the narrative, until we start demanding better, more thoughtful, and more honest storytelling, we're going to stay stuck in this endless loop of absurdity. We're going to keep watching the same tired plot lines play out over and over again, while the people in power continue to manipulate us for their own gain.
So, what's the solution? How do we break out of this cycle, How do we stop treating politics like a wrestling match and start engaging with it in a meaningful way?
I think the first step is acknowledging that we've been conditioned to accept spectacle over substance. We need to recognize that the way we're consuming information, the way we're watching these political storylines unfold, is designed to keep us passive. Once we see that, we can start to push back. We can start to demand more from our leaders, from our media, and from ourselves.
Yeah, it's about reclaiming the narrative, isn't it? It's about saying, no, we're not just going to sit back and watch this circus anymore. We want real answers. We want real change. And it's about getting involved, whether that's through voting, activism, or just staying informed. We've got to stop being spectators and start being participants.
Absolutely. And we've got to stop treating these political figures like they're characters in a drama. They're not larger-than-life heroes or villains. They're people. And the decisions they make have real consequences for all of us. We can't afford to keep playing along with the show. We've got to take control of the script.
Right, because if we don't, we're just going to keep getting more of the same. More chaos, more absurdity, more spectacle. And at some point, we've got to ask ourselves, is this really how we want to live? Is this really the kind of world we want to leave for future generations?
That's the big question, isn't it? Are we okay with living in a world where everything feels like a performance, where nothing makes sense, and where the people in power are more interested in putting on a show than actually helping the people they're supposed to serve? Or are we ready to demand something better?
I hope we're ready. I hope we're ready to step out of the audience and into the ring, not as participants in the spectacle, but as people who are ready to change the game. Because if we don't, we're going to just keep spinning our wheels, waiting for the next twist in the story that's never going to end.
And that's the real tragedy, isn't it? We deserve better. We deserve leaders who are honest, who are focused on solving real problems, and who aren't just playing a role in some absurd political drama. But until we demand that, we're stuck in this wrestling ring, waiting for the next body slam.
Exactly. So, let's stop waiting. Let's stop being spectators. Let's start writing our own story. Because if we don't, someone else is going to do it for us. And I don't think we're going to like how it ends.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's time to change the channel, people. Time to start thinking critically, pushing for accountability, and refusing to let the absurdity of the current moment define our future.
Well said, Lisa. And on that note, I think we've given our listeners a lot to chew on. It's time to step out of the ring and start taking action in the real world. Thanks for joining us today on The Brain Wrestle. Remember, the fight's not over, and it's up to us to make sure we're on the right side of history.
That's right. Stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay woke. We'll catch you next time, everyone.
Until then, keep your head on straight and your fists up, because your fight for reality is far from over. Take care, everyone.
This has been the Reel Debrief. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, like, rate, and review. We'll see you soon on the Reel Debrief.